Do you think now is a good time to be a broadcaster from British Asian descent? Because there seems to be more awareness now about wanting to have different voices, diverse voices to hear from. Or are there still familiar barriers that are there?
A bit of both, if I'm being honest. Look, it is a good time. Obviously, when you look at our world, the sport world, the cricket world in particular, as you mentioned, both of us have done commentary on BBC Test Match Special, and that is a program and a broadcast which has changed dramatically over the last decade or so. There is a lot more diversity, more female voices, people from different types of backgrounds. And when I talk about backgrounds, I'm not just talking about race. I'm talking about, people who aren't just privately educated, for example, people from different areas of the United Kingdom being able to broadcast on international cricket on TMS, and obviously people of different racial backgrounds as well, like myself. So in terms of that, things are moving in the right direction. It's good to be a British Asian broadcaster in that sense, but I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that the only reason that I am doing these kinds of things is because I'm from that background. Obviously, you've still got to be good enough to be working at a certain place to get that gig, in my opinion. And if you're not, you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't just be there because of your background or gender or whatever it might be. So that is a key thing, and I think the BBC has been very good at that in recent times, certainly on TMS. But look, there are a lot of barriers in the industry. There's a lot of unconscious bias. I mean, having worked at BBC New Broadcasting House and worked within BBC News, because when I was at the BBC Asian Network, although I was a sports reporter, technically we came under the BBC News umbrella, which is a massive operation. But you look down in the newsroom there, the main newsroom at New Broadcasting House, there are diverse faces, there are diverse broadcasters who you might see reading you the 10 o'clock news and things like that. But when you look at management, that's where the issue is. You look at senior management, not just within the BBC, within a lot of organizations, and it's the same old, same old. You don't see many women there. You don't see many people from maybe, particularly if an organization is based in London, which a lot of them are, you don't see many people from up north, for example. You don't see many people from Asian backgrounds, from, black backgrounds. You just don't see that in senior management. And I think that is a massive issue. It's not just within our industry, obviously within sport itself, administrators and things like that. In the UK, for example, you look at the ECB, you look at the people at the top. Is there enough diversity there? The question could be asked. Obviously, in football, we know it's a massive issue with management and directors at football clubs. There's not enough. There's so many black players playing in the Premier League and playing in the Championship and all across the EFL. You don't see many black managers. So it's an issue across sport and across our industry. And when you have that situation, perhaps sometimes you might get that unconscious bias in terms of getting a job or getting a gig. So there are still those issues which are there and need to be ironed out, really. And I don't know, how that is going to change in terms of senior management, because, unless people are given that opportunity to work up the ladder, it's not going to happen. It's not like, say for example, in the broadcasting world, I grew up watching somebody like a Manish Bhasin presenting, Football Focus, and thinking, well, hang on, not only is he a British Indian who's presenting one of the most popular shows at the time, on the BBC in terms of sport, but he's also from Leicester as well. He's come up through the ranks, working his way up from Radio Leicester. That's something that I could aspire to do as well. I've seen that role model there that I can aspire to be. If you're not seeing those role models in terms of senior management, then, the aspiration might be there still to a certain extent because you want to progress in your career, but you might not feel that it's actually possible to reach that level. And you might then go off and do something else, which it would be sad to see somebody do that. So, there are still issues. But in terms of being given opportunities as a broadcaster at the moment, certainly on the BBC, I feel it's a good place to be at the moment.
Yeah, and you're definitely there on merit. I can certainly say that hand on heart. But do you think that there are people probably out there who still look at maybe some of the women that are on air, or maybe some Asians or black people, and think, oh well, you're only there as a token gesture? Do you get that impression that some people still think that?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, every time TMS is on air, you will get comments on social media as to the makeup of the commentary team, and it doesn't matter what competition you're commentating on, whether it's I cover everything for TMS. I do county cricket, so I do international cricket in terms of ICC tournaments and things like that. I've covered test matches as a reporter as well. I've covered the 100, which is controversial with a lot of TMS listeners, particularly the traditional bunch who don't believe that such a competition should exist, and they're entitled to that opinion as well. So you get so many different types of people listening, but you will generally, I mean, the 100's a little bit different, but you probably just get more abuse for actually commentating on a competition which they don't like. But in all the other stuff, you will always get opinions from people who don't like Alex Hartley, who don't think Isha Guha should be there, who don't think I should be there, who don't think Atif Nawaz should be there, and things like that. You get the other side as well, the complimentary side of people saying, oh, great job, sounding good, all that kind of stuff, which is nice, but you get so much negativity across social media. And I think it's more so for the female broadcasters, if I'm being honest. And that's not just in cricket, but in football as well.